So here's something that came up on my FYP. Are we still African Americans at this point? And before anybody gets mad, this is not a take, it's a question I'm legitimately asking. Most ethnic identities in the US, like the Irish Americans or the Italian Americans, they fade after a few generations. And according to some studies, by the third generation, most people stop identifying strongly with their ancestral roots. They still might celebrate the food or the holidays, but for the most part, it just becomes symbolic, right? And then they just say Americans. Some of them do still claim the Irish or the Italian, but Americans. But that's not how it works for us. Many Black families in this country have been here a lot longer than some white ones, 7, 8, or 9 generations deep. And still, the African and African American stays. Even though we don't know the country, the tribe, the language, even though the actual link was violently severed. So the question becomes, is it heritage? Is it race? Or is it the only category that we were ever offered? And does it still fit? No right or wrong answer here. Not saying what it should be, I'm just wondering out loud. How long does it take before a label is considered outdated? Or do some labels stick because the system won't let it go? Does African American still feel like a connection? Or has it become a placeholder for something that we were never allowed to fully define? What do you think?
I am so tired of people coming on this app, coming to my page, telling me what I am. Like, girl, do you know me? What does Black even look like? Do I have to look like you? But yes, I am African American. My father is, so therefore that makes me Black. I know that may offend some people, but I really don't care. None of my white counterparts look at me and say, oh, she's white, we're gonna treat her differently. No, they treat me as a Black woman. I've always experienced and lived my life as a Black woman living in the US. But for the sake of Black History Month, as African Americans, we need to be focusing on more important issues versus telling people, oh, you don't look Black enough, or you're too light, you're too dark. Like, we need to be focusing on how we are going to bring our community together and build generational wealth for African Americans. I actually left the US in 2021. I moved to Dubai. I live in Belgium. One thing I can say is that Americans are so obsessed with race, trying to tell you what you are and what you're not. My page is all about travel and my experience living abroad. So I was talking about my experience being Black in Dubai, and I got all these comments. Happy Black History Month.
African Americans that call themselves Black Americans are so weird to me. Baby, you're African. Embrace it. It's beautiful.
I remember when we went from Black to African American, and my dad was like, nope, Black, I'm done. And I didn't understand, right? But in my father's lifetime, he went from colored to Negro to Black, and African American was just a step too far for him. That's how I feel about BIPOC. You're Black, indigenous, people of color. I mean, did they just lump us all together so they could ignore us all at once? And if you talk to the IPOCs, they're not really that happy being lumped in with Black folk. They were aiming for white and got friend zoned.
So there's a whole lot going on, right? A whole lot of misunderstanding. Some people are saying, are we Black Americans? But we were African Americans. Why are we now called Black Americans? You understand? To be honest, a lot of people have not come to terms with this whole FBA thing, right? Some people don't really know it, right? Some people are still saying, oh, we're African Americans, but we're not Africans. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's so confusing that even me, I don't understand. Even when I'm addressing Black Americans as Black Americans, I'll still see Black Americans saying they're African Americans. You understand? I feel there's a misconception somewhere. And I'm like, okay, let me just go down the street. Probably I'm going to see some history and then bring it here. Let's talk about it, right? Listen to all those videos. It's kind of sketchy because you still see people still disagreeing, or people still saying, oh, I'm African American, and this and that. But just watch it and then come back and then we'll talk about it. At least we're going to learn. This is an educational content, right? So we're going to learn from this. A lot of you that don't really know that you're Black Americans and not African Americans will know it. A lot of you that keep saying, oh, I'm African Americans and not Black Americans, I'm Black American and not African. Man, I'm so confused. You're going to know in this video.
Oh my gosh, I could not figure out for the life of me, why would they lie and say we came off of, or our ancestors came off of slave ships? And I'm thinking, like, nobody would survive that journey. I've been seeing a bunch of theories on it, but I don't listen to people. So I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm like, why would they just not say that we're Native Americans? Like, why would they not say we're Native Americans? Why would they say we came from Africa? So I'm sitting here and I'm like, because they didn't want us to ever have claims to this land. They didn't want us to ever have claims. So they destroyed as much evidence as they could, but they couldn't destroy the evidence fully. So what they did was they gave us some Native Americans, them $5 Indians. They gave us those Native Americans and said that's what Native Americans look like. That's what Indians look like. And they gave them the reservations and the rights and the money every month, and they got all of that. And that we were never, our ancestors were never in Africa, y'all. We're Native Americans. We're not African American. We're Native Americans. They stole the land and they didn't want us to ever have rights or claim over the land. So they told us we were from Africa. Because if we're from Africa, we have no birthright to this land. But if we're Native Americans, we have birthright to the land. They are wicked as hell. I mean, wow. I've been doing so much research on my personal family tree, my family history. And I know that my matriarch, my mom's mom, I know that they're Indians. My grandfather's name, she's my grandma, that's her dad. So my great-grandfather, his name is Redbill, Indian. They talk about him often. My family, my other side of my family, my patriarchy, my mom's dad, they're all from New Orleans. My entire lineage is from New Orleans, and the other side is North Carolina. My ancestors are not African, they're Native American. And I've always thought this and said this, and it's a joke like, oh, we got Indian in us. Our grandparents were not lying. They were not lying. Why would they lie to us about that? Why would they just lie to us? Because if we were African, our grandparents would be proud of that. If they really felt we're not, they always told us we were Indian. We had Native American. Anyways, so, oh my God. So both sets of my ancestors were Native Americans. Nobody came from Africa, bro. They did not bring those people. I'm irritated.
They are reclassifying us right in our faces, and you guys are conforming to it instantly, because all I keep hearing now is foundational Black Americans, foundational Black Americans. If you don't understand that that is a reclassification, and pretty soon you're going to start seeing it on papers, FBA, foundational Black American, baby. You are reclassifying yourself. They don't have to do much because you are reclassifying yourself as an indigenous American when they reclassified you as freedman, mulatto, Indian, Black, Negro, color, African American, and now here you are playing into this thing of the foundational Black American. I can't believe this shit. Like, and it ain't even on paper yet, and y'all are reclassifying us. Like, are you? What the hell on?
Serious question. I need the answer. Please, someone help me understand. So my question is, how long does it take for a first, second, or third generation African being born in America or whatever, to become Black American? Like when, because eventually they will, right? Like they're immersed in Black culture. I know they're still going to be in their own culture, especially if they're first, second, and third generation. But when will they be considered Black American? I have another thought. I've been smoking. So to be Black, I believe you have to be a descendant of those who were forced into slavery, right? So in that sense, they would never be Black American, or, I mean, it just doesn't seem that way, because they'll still have the experience of being Black, especially after being here for so long. Just give me your opinion, because I just, yeah. What do you think?
Right now, there's a war in my comments about whether or not Black people should be called African American or Black American. It literally doesn't matter. We are all Black. Like, we all come from the same place. That's like saying, if your sister moved to a different place, she not your sister no more. No, y'all come from the same place. Same DNA. We are all African. No matter if you're from the Caribbean, don't matter if you're from Nigeria, don't matter if you're from Inglewood. We are all Black. We are all African. I feel like a lot of Africans don't want to be mixed in with Black culture, which is really sad because our culture is beautiful. Like, we are so influential. Like, I mean, we literally, like, people streetwear, music, jazz, rock, blues, R&B, everything, like K-pop. We influence a lot of people, and we literally came from it. Nothing. So it's just beautiful. But I also feel like a lot of Black people don't want to be mixed in with Africans. It's so stupid because we share so many similarities. I mean, of course, we come from Africa. Caribbean people, they eat rice and peas. We be eating rice and rice. We all, it's just like, it's so many. I mean, we got freaking jambalaya, jollof rice. Like, it's, you know, so it's kind of the same, but it's definitely different. But it's just like, it doesn't matter because we're all Black. Like, I don't know why it even is an argument we are black at the end of the day. Don't matter what you want to be called, African American, Black American, we come from the same place.
So America has put out that new census report differentiating African Americans from the different type of melanated people from islands and actually from Africa. And some people are confused on like, why? Why? Baby, because they're trying to get ahead of things. They're trying to give us the truth even though we're already discovering the truth. They're trying to possibly prevent us from wanting to correct our statuses. Where you differentiated us from African American to the other types of melanated people, baby, give us our titles back. And actually, don't give us shit. Don't give us shit because we're going to still take it. We're still going to take it. Yeah, we're still going to take it because we're not even African Americans. We don't want your reclassification. No, 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 no. We want our land back and we want our titles back. We want our ability to be able to operate freely on our land. So if you think you're doing us a big one by differentiating us and letting the world know that we're actually African Americans, no, baby. Do us the biggest one and get the fuck out of here. Okay? But to anyone who is confused, it is because out where y'all all think we look alike, honey, a lot of us don't come from Africa. And if our DNA does come from Africa, it's because our ancestors migrated here, possibly through the Grand Canyon, but it's okay. Different topic, different story, different day, but we were here. And many of us can trace our genealogy many generations right here on American soil. And before 1865, before they came, doing stuff, doing the mostest to the hostess, we were already here. And we didn't go by African American. So while they think they're differentiating us, they put our real titles up there. Give us back, don't give us shit. We're taking it.
I am not an African American. I'm an American. I am a Black American. I am definitely Black.
What's up, y'all? I got a different take on Raven's comments. And in her clip, I gave you guys a snippet of it, but essentially what she's stating is she doesn't want to be called African American. She prefers to be called Black or Black American or just an American, which is fine. However, I want to offer a different take. For me, I prefer to be called an African American because my ancestors were stolen, uprooted, and taken from one place and brought to another place against their will. And so I don't want to have their legacy, to have their culture, to have their existence be forgotten or erased. So I choose to say African American to honor the people that I've come from, the people who had to exist in order for me to exist. And so I have to acknowledge my African ancestors. I think for me just to say Black American omits a very important part of my history and my culture and where I've come from. And I don't want to do that by omitting this part because, yes, my ancestors did contribute and build America. And so, yes, I can say I'm an American. I can say I'm a Black American, but also I don't want to omit that I'm an African American. That's just my perspective. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, y'all. Make a comment. I think everybody has the right to be addressed and to identify however they choose. But sometimes I think there may be unintended consequences to the decisions that we make. So drop your comments in the chat. I want to hear your thoughts.
Today, we are going to go on a journey from colored to Negro to Black to African American. Identity has been an ever-changing facet for Black Americans. Now, from the 1850 to 1960, we were primarily referred to as colored or Negro. W.E.B. Du Bois, was an early proponent of us using the term Negro. He almost referred to us exclusively as Negro in his writings, and he felt like Negro was a term that fit best from an etymology standpoint, as well as phonetically in comparison to something from Africa-based or something that was hyphenated. And that was his logic behind it, even though he was a board member and sat on the NAACP, which did refer to us as colored. Now, it wasn't a 100% support for his views. You had people who had other ideas. One of them that stands out is Thomas Fortune. He saw the term Negro as a common noun. Negro was actually not even capitalized at that point. And he felt like Negro really just described some of the physical peculiarities, but it didn't really, represent a unified race. His suggestion was that we'd be referred to as Afro-Americans, right? So in about 1930, you see Negro come on the U.S. Census. And something that happened before that was the Racial Integrity Act of Virginia in 1924. What that said was two things. One, it outlawed interracial marriage. Also, it said that anybody who isn't white is colored, meaning that it doesn't matter what your exact race is. You could have came here from Africa. You could have already been here. You could have been a native. If you're not white, you're colored. Hence, a lot of what you hear in, most of our old folks and family we have Indian in our blood. Well, it's quite possible because after 1924, the term colored was a combination of people, a combination of any non-whites without any delineation, all being under the same label color. So quite possibly, I mean, I would say almost certainly you're going to have people of different ethnicities under one label. So yeah, you will have people with Indian in there. You would have that because everyone was under the same title of color. Now, around 1930, you have the Negro show up in the current title Negro show up in the census, and now it's being used as the identifier of, of our people. About 1960, Negroes being used by MLK primarily refers to us as Negro. Malcolm X, he does say blacks sometimes, but he primarily refers to us as Negro. Negro is the most used term. But you got young college kids, and they're starting their movement, and they're getting their word out there. And you have Stokely Carmichael, and he comes up with the term Black Power. He gives a long speech about it. He wanted something that, to quote him, something that was a more powerful term than just what we have with the Negro. Now, when we became black is a really interesting thing, right? Because if you talk to an older person, they'll tell you that it was disrespectful to call somebody black. I got one of my buddies, his dad, Big Bruce. He tells down to that. Yeah, that was before we became black in '66. So when we became black, that was a significant change, and a lot of people did not want to do that. Being black, being called black, again, could be considered an offensive term during the time of the Negro, right? So once we became black, around the Black Power, and funny thing, man, James Brown, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. He don't say nothing he's proud of the whole song. But by 1969, 1970, Ebony and Jet were primarily using the term black. The 1970 census comes around, and now the 1970 census, when it comes to identifying, it's starting to it gives the options of Negro or black. And before the early census, you just had the letter W for white, N for Negro, and that was it. But now at this point, it's going to Negroes or black, which leads us to 1980s, which is, I don't know how he pulled this off, but Jesse Jackson had the bright idea that we should be African Americans. And on part 2, we're going to break that down. Before I get out of here, let me give you a quick history too on the mulattoes, the mixed race. Mulattoes in the 1890s were originally referred to as quadroons or octoroons, and then that evolved into mulattoes, which today we now just call mixed race, but that also had an evolution. Mulattoes just being mixed people, usually a lot of them being children of a slave owner and a slave. But that's part 1 in our evolving identity, and I'll be back with some more information. We're gonna really get into Jesse Jackson next time.
I had made a comment last night where I was like, there's a difference between being a Black American and being an African American. African American being you are a descendant of American chattel slavery. Black American meaning that you are a black person who is either born or raised in America or immigrated to America but are from another place. People in my comments are coming in telling me that I'm wrong because they're saying that African American and Black American, I'm confusing them. Let me explain it to you real quickly. All African Americans are Black Americans. All Black Americans are not African American. African American is the ethnic group. Someone asks, how is African American an ethnic group? Because African Americans are descendants of American chattel slavery, which is why we were in that gray area of not being colonizers because we were brought here, but also not being native to the land. But being that we have been in America for so long, we are ethnically American, which is why almost all African Americans have at least 25% European DNA in them because of American chattel slavery. So yeah, but our ancestors were calling themselves Black American. Black is the race. African American is the ethnicity. Just like how you can be born and raised in America but have Black parents from Panama who came here would not make you African American. It would make you Black American because your race is Black. So yes, the ancestors calling themselves Black American is literally the same thing as calling themselves African American because they are talking about the racial and ethnic group, which are African Americans who are descendants of American chattel slavery. You have to differentiate when you're talking to because of immigration. People are acting slow. With immigration and how many Black people come into America, you cannot call all of us Black and think that we're all talking about being African American. No, you have to differentiate because again, ethnic group, race. Everybody is a part of the race. Everybody is not a part of the ethnic group. Okay, I hope that makes a lot more sense. So if you're a African American and you want to call yourself a Black American or a Salonian, that's fine. No one's going to stop you. But the actual classification for our ethnic group would still be African American because again, Black is our race. It's not our ethnic group. So yes, it would make sense that a lot of our ancestors were calling themselves Black American because they were referring to their race, but not their ethnic group because their race is Black. Again, using race versus ethnicity, all of us are Black. All of us are not African American. And when you dive deeper and you talk about immigration, it would make sense that our ancestors were calling themselves Black Americans because when did Black people start migrating to America? When did Jamaicans start coming into America? So the news articles that y'all are pulling up are pre-immigration for Black people. It wouldn't make sense to try to really have this argument when you're using your croissant.
What's your name, Jim Allen here, and listen, I have a question as it relates to the term African American, and we know that term African American was first published in 1782 in the Pennsylvania Journal. However, It was popularized by different civil rights leaders, one being the Reverend Dr. Jesse L. Jackson Sr. However, it was first published in 1782 in the Pennsylvania Journal. A African-American black man took out an ad where he was selling a book, basically, and he was saying that the book was written by an African-American, and so it was first published in 1782, the term. But what do you consider yourself? Do you consider yourself African-American, Africo-American, Black American, Afro-American? What do you consider yourself? Because many of us, under the title African American, and some of you would say that's a misnomer or whatever, but I'm just using it to classify a certain group, us. Many of us that are African American, we have other ancestry, right? We have a European ancestry. Some of us have a Native American ancestry. And so, and also some of us tend to think that our European ancestry just came through some type of distress relative to the plantation, because when you say that certain R word, your video gets taken down for whatever reason. So, but you know what I'm talking about. Some of us think that our European ancestry came through that type of situation. But what if it did? What if it didn't? What if it didn't come through that type of situation? But what do you consider yourself? When you look at your DNA from Ancestry.com or 21andMe, I don't think 21andMe is still in business. But from any of these DNA places, and then you see your DNA results that you have a percentage of African, West and Central African, you have a percentage of Native American, you have a percentage of European. How do you juxtapose that with I'm African American and the others don't matter? Or do you consider yourself African mulatto American? Like what terms should we be using? And there are some Africans that migrate here from Africa and they feel offended because we use the term African American. They feel that we're not African culturally and spiritually. And when you talk culture, you're talking music, right? Food, art, language. And so they feel that we're not African as it relates to food, art, music, language, spirituality, the griots, the storytellers, right? So they feel that we're not African in that sense, although we may be African, or not may, but although we are African in the DNA sense. So the DNA results are going to show that you have a high percentage of West and Central African, along with percentages of European and Native American. Listen, I was paying attention to Henry Louis Gates, and there's a Caucasian guy, he had 1% of African in him. And Henry Louis Gates told him that 1% represents a fourth or fifth full-blooded African. So some of you out there with 1%, 2% Native American DNA, that represents a full-blooded fourth or fifth Native American ancestor. That's what that represents, that 1%. So it may sound low, but it's even closer than we think, right? But anyway, what do we call ourselves? Do we continue to call ourselves African American, neglecting our other ancestry, European, Native American ancestry, regardless of how it came about? Regardless of how it came about, it's you, it's in your DNA. Do we continue to neglect that, throw that on the back burner? I don't want to deal with that because we assume or presume that came out of distress, and so we don't want to deal with that part of ourselves? Or do we accept it and say, this is who we are, we're African mulatto Americans? What term should we use? Black American? You tell me, what term should we use? What term are you most comfortable with? All right, Jermaine, man, Jamal, keep the faith. Issei, Ashe, Ayibobo, amen. Peace.
So the people that you call black or African American are actually the originals to the American land. Welcome to the Cookout. You see, we don't learn much about World War I, but this war was an attack on the American lands from 7 different outside nations. You see, starting all the way in 1492, our ancestors were invaded and attacked by the Spanish conquistadors, led by the one and only Christopher Colombo Dumbo. You see, we've spent hundreds of years going through atrocities that no other race or nation of people have ever had to experience. Period. I mean, let's be real. Violence, pestilence, relocation, reclassification. We were forced to be prisoners of war on our own land. And not only that, our identity was attempted to be erased when they renamed us African. So, I mean, we're talking about one of the worst atrocities in the history of the world, trying to erase a nation completely off the face of the earth. But guess what? We rise. We always rise. We will rise. We shall rise. And we will continue to rise. Period. I mean, you can go all the way up to the Walter Plecker era, the one-drop rule, The Virginia Bureau of Vital Statistics, when our people were renamed Negro instead of indigenous because we refused to go to the reservation or camps that they had at that time. So what we're doing here at the Cookout, we're doing more than just entertainment, social media. What we're doing is helping millions of misclassified indigenous Americans reclaim their heritage. Time to get our land back, our culture, everything, y'all. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm happy to have, I'm happy to be back uploading again, guys. I know I took a break, but I'm back. I love y'all. I'm out.
African American and Black American are often used interchangeably, but they have distinct meanings. African American typically refers to descendants of enslaved Africans in the US, while Black American is a broader term including anyone with African ancestry. For example, a recent Nigerian immigrant to the United States might identify as Black American, but not African American. The choice between these terms depends on personal identity and cultural background. Some prefer one term, others use both. It's important to respect how individuals choose to identify themselves. Language and the way we describe diverse experiences continue to evolve. Are you an African American or Black American? What are your thoughts on this?
Listen, we have to clear this up. We got to clear it up. Let's clear it up. Saying Africans sold out Black Americans is one of the biggest lies ever told. So what happened in Africa in the 15th century? Africa wasn't just one big happy family. It's made up of hundreds of different tribes and kingdoms. And just like in Europe, they had beef. They went to war. When one tribe defeated another, it was normal in war to take prisoners. Some of those prisoners were traded to foreign allies, like the Portugal, Britain, or Spain. But here's the key. They weren't thinking we're selling out our own people. It was the enemy versus the enemy, the same as other nations did. That's like saying the Russians sold out the Irish just because they're both white. Make that make sense. They're different people, different cultures, different languages, the same as Africans. So selling an enemy tribe to a foreign nation was strategic warfare, not betrayal. Why do people push that lie? I think it's because it's easier to blame Africans than to face how Europe and America industrialized human suffering. Our story is deeper than the lie.
I think I understand right now. I now understand the whole concept of, from the Negro to the, African American to all of that. I now understand right now. Let me tell you what I understand. I'm beginning to understand that some Black Americans are not from Africa. I also have that misconception that, that they are from Africa, because we had a notion that they were actually taken for slavery from Africa, right? But now I'm beginning to see these Native Americans too that are also Black, and seeing that there is a possibility that some Black Americans are also from there. Now there are also some part of Indians that are claiming that Black Americans belongs to them, or Black Americans are also saying, they have Indian ancestry, right? So it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot. But now I want to know in the comment section, do you think that you now understand what it is to be an African American and what it is to be a Black American? Which one would you choose to be addressed? Would you choose to be addressed as African American, or would you choose to be addressed as Black Americans? I want you to know, and then state with reasons and with your facts as well. I would really, really want to know that. So going forward, when I'm bringing videos or when I'm talking, I want to be making mistakes as well. So thank you so much for actually joining. Do not forget to Global Just with BJ. I care so much about your welfare. I care about you a lot. Right? I'll see you on the next one. Do not forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. Yeah.